Welcome to week 3 of Flying into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. In this episode, I sit down with Coach Hall of the Fountain Central Mustangs, this week's opponent, and I sit down with Coach Burgess of your Falcons. You are listening to Flying into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. Welcome back to week 3's episode of Flying into the Falcons Nest. I'm sitting with Coach Troy Burgess. Coach, pleasure as always.
Hey, it's good to be here, Justin.
Now, Coach, we were kind of talking a little bit between now and kickoff that last week was a little bit of a step backwards, but you and I both agree on one thing. Your second drive of the game where you drove it all the way down to the 1 yard line and fumbled the football, that was what was really the momentum changer there.
I thought so too. You would like to think that you'd like to think you make a mistake that early in the game, you can kind of bounce back from it. But I thought it really changed the momentum. The fact that we didn't get the touchdown and then obviously turn right around and they go 80 yards on one play. And that just seemed to kind of set the tone to the rest of the game. And again, that's something we've got to get better at. We've got to be able to adapt and adjust to those type of adverse situations.
Yeah. And again, that was something that Craig and I talked about towards the end of the game when it was a little bit out of hand. But I mean, you guys seem to be able to move the ball at least better this last week than in week 1 against Whiting. You just weren't able to get the points, and a couple costly turnovers there as well really doomed you against North White.
Well, it did. We went back and looked. We were over 300 yards of offense again, and but you're right. We had 3 4th-and-1 situations that we didn't convert on. We had a couple of turnovers, and then we had 3 or 4 really costly penalties that negated, 15, 20, 25-yard plays. If you take those things away in that ball game, we, like you said, we moved the ball offensively. Should have been able to put some points on the board, but again, we've got to be able to handle those situations, and obviously we've got to cut down on some of those mental mistakes.
Yeah, and again, it was your conference opener, so you fall behind in conference standings, but it was against a rivalry. Does that kind of play into how chippy that game got later in the game, how both sides were kind of getting unsportsmanlike penalties throughout the course of the second half?
Well, I think, it is a rivalry type of game. And, we play them in volleyball on the night before the football game. So that kind of gets the atmosphere going. And, it's just, it's a rivalry game. And I thought both teams played hard. I didn't see anything out there, anything that was necessarily unnecessary type of stuff. It got a little chippy, but I think the fact that like you said, it was a rivalry game, and the fact that, the heat and the weather and the conditions tend to lend itself for a little bit of frustration, especially when you're on the backside end of it like we were.
Yeah, and again, I want to applaud these referees. They saw the heat index, they saw the temperature on the field, and they took periodic water breaks there throughout the course of the ball game. Again, great job by these referees. Can't say enough about them.
That was a good crew. They did a nice job, and that was a crew that I did not have originally. The crew I had originally ended up not working for us, and this was a last minute fill-in type, and they had another game cancel on them, so it worked out. But no, they did a tremendous job of officiating, and like you said, they had the kids' best interest at heart.
And again, before we go into this week's opponent, I do want to touch on something that Craig and I mentioned, and you and I talked to Saturday morning, was the young man who was carted off the field by the paramedics. Is he doing all right? Last we talked, he was fine.
Yeah, he's doing fine. It was a situation, I think mainly more than anything else, he was dehydrated. He'd gotten himself dehydrated, and just I think that the combination of that and kind of the excitement of everything, I think kind of overwhelmed him a little bit, but he's doing great. He's back, and he's still going to meet with his doctor to get cleared. He won't be cleared to play this Friday, but hopefully we'll have him back next Friday and he'll be cleared to play.
And again, that's the biggest thing. And again, we talk about how these referees did with the heat index, and that was just an unfortunate turn of events. But let's go ahead and turn into week 3. You guys got Fountain Central, your first road test of the year. Your first 2 games are at home. What have you kind of seen from them, especially from last year's meeting between the two?
Well, I think they're much improved from last year. I felt like last year they were a big physical team. They were very athletic. They are again this year. A lot of those guys that played last year are back this year for them. They've got very good team speed, very aggressive defensively, and I would say of our first 3 opponents, definitely probably the team with the most speed and probably the most athleticism that we've seen so far this year.
And again, we kind of said Caleb Wagner was doing well last week. I think he only had 1 interception or maybe none at all. I haven't been able to see anything on that. But again, able to move the ball through the air. You mixed in Zach Wells a little bit more this week. He had a bounce back week with almost 100 yards rushing. Just talk about Zach a little bit.
Well, Zach did a nice job. We're in a situation, and these guys know going into it. And there with Zach, that situation with our backs, we're much different than we were last year. We're not going to have a guy carry the ball 25, 30 times. Week 1, Zach had 5 carries, struggled a little bit. This past week, he only had 8 carries, but as you said, he was almost 100 yards. I thought he took advantage of the opportunities that he had and did a much better job of seeing the field. And you give a lot of credit to our guys up front. We opened up some pretty good holes for him also.
Yeah, and again, even though you guys lost 40-8 last Friday, defensively, you take away those big plays and they played really well. Just is that how you're going to have to play against Fountain Central, with relying on Schroeder a little bit more this year?
Well, we are. We just, obviously the big plays hurt us, and we've got to do a better job across the board. But yeah, as far as defense goes, we've got to do a better job of eliminating those big plays. We got to make people try to sustain, 10, 11, 12 play drives if they're going to, to be able to move the football against us. And last Friday just wasn't the case. And if we do the same, Fountain Central's got a very explosive offense. If we allow them to do what they want to do, we could be in for a long night again this week. So hopefully defensively, we will do a much better job of eliminating those.
And Fountain Central had a couple of kickoff returns for touchdowns. Are you going to be kicking it deep here against them, or are you going to be trying to do what you did against Whiting?
Well, we're going to, we try to place the ball a little bit on our kickoffs. We've got different type of things we can do. And I think we found last week that Colton, he does have the potential to put the ball in the end zone at times. And if we feel like we can do that, we will. But we're definitely going to have to place the ball, put it in the positions where we think suits us the best, and then do a good job of getting 11 guys to the football once we do kick off.
All right. You have been sitting in with Coach Burgess and myself. Coach, again, I will talk to you tonight out on the football field. You have been listening to Flying Into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. Welcome back to week 3 of Flying Into the Falcons Nest. I'm honored to be sitting next to Coach Ryan Hall of the opponent this week, Fountain Central. Coach Hall, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
So, Coach, last week you guys played Riverton Park, where you beat them 26-14. Just kind of go over what you saw with your kids, especially AJ Hall.
So our special teams really helped us out. We scored on a punt return and a kickoff return. We scored on a kickoff return to start the second half. So we got a lot of momentum there. They played with a lot of energy. The Friday before, we played hard, but there just wasn't a lot of energy. And this was our home opener. So the kids, our crowd was really good. They were into it. It was just an exciting atmosphere, and they just played hard with excitement. So it was a lot of fun. With our quarterback situation, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's controlling the offense. He hasn't turned the ball over in 2 games, so we'll knock on wood for that. And he just gets the ball to our playmakers when we need it. We have multiple backs that carry the ball for us and catch the ball for us. So he's done a good job.
Yeah, AJ Hall, especially Austin Pickett as well. He carried the ball 6 times for you for 64 yards, and Dawson Blue 11 times for 75 yards. And that's really coming off of a week 1 loss. So you guys really bounced back well. What are you kind of seeing from Frontier in the film that you can try to exploit?
Yeah, we know Frontier is well coached, and we had a heck of a game with them last year. It was our first game because we got quarantined the first 2 weeks last year. So I'm pretty sure we played on a Saturday morning last year. It was just kind of different for both teams, but I know their coach from the past, and he's just a very good coach. So we know that they're going to be prepared. We've watched their last two films just like they've watched our last two. We're just going to try to get the ball to our athletes and just do what we do. We know that most teams know that we like to blitz on defense. So we're just going to keep trying to put pressure on them. Their quarterback is really good. He's gotten better from last year when it comes to throwing the football. So we're hoping to contain the pass game and try to control him as he runs the football.
Yeah, and I can say I was at that game last Saturday. You're right. It was at noon. That was really weird to be not playing under Friday Night Lights, but be playing on Saturday afternoon. Both teams, I thought, played really well last year, and both teams have a lot of people returning this year. So it's going to be a very interesting game. Just kind of go over once again what you're really expecting from not only Frontier offensively, besides the quarterback play, but kind of how are you going to attack their defense?
Well, I know they're bigger than we are. I mean, they're bigger up front than we are. We feel like we may have some more speed than they do. So obviously we want to try to get to the ball to the perimeter if we can, but we just don't want to turn the football over. We've been pretty good. We had 2 fumbles last week. But like I said, we haven't turned the ball over yet, interception wise. So if we can control that and just try to keep their quarterback on defense, so he's not throwing the ball everywhere, that would help us. But they're tough in the middle on defense. So it's going to be hard, not hard, but I don't know if we're going to be able to run the ball inside. We'll try, but obviously we want to try to get our speed outside.
All right. That has been Coach Ryan Hall of the Fountain Central Mustangs. Getting ready to face on the Frontier Falcons coming up next after the break. I will wrap things up. You have been listening to Flying Into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. This has been week 3 of Flying Into the Falcons Nest, powered by Indiana SRN. Next week, I will be talking with Coach Burgess and the head coach of Clinton Central, as well as Craig Collins and I's Player of the Week. Thank you and have a great night.